Man, it sure is nice being the best Destroyer in this collection. Especially my competition only being these little bastards. And whatever the hell you are. But I'm just the American Bandai Destroyer. Well, that explains everything. So I have nothing to contest my supremacy. Except what's ever in this package. Hate to break it to you, but I think you're boned. Hey Rangers, welcome to Super Important Reviews. My name's Steve, and today I'll be going over the X Plus Large Monster Series Destroyah in 1995. If you guys don't know who Destroyah is, he's from the last of the Heisei Godzilla films, which is Godzilla vs. Destroyah, which, spoiler alert, is the one where Godzilla dies in. And Destroyah was created by the Oxygen Destroyer, which is the weapon that killed the original Godzilla in the 1954 film. And I always thought it was a nice little fitting homage to that original film to be trying to have the last Godzilla film monster be related to that original film. And Destroyah worked perfectly. Plus I love just how crazy demonic crustacean this thing looks like. He's crazy looking. And the main reason I picked this figure up is because it's my wife and mine's 10th anniversary being together and our 3rd year being married. So we thought it'd be really cool to get something special for the occasion. And since we already have the Burning Godzilla to go along with the Destroyah, I thought it'd be nice to have a matching pair. Then I've just been personally trying to add a few more X Pluses to my collection here and there, and I love Destroyah, so I thought this would be a nice little addition to it. And without further ado, for the packaging, not a whole lot to go over here other than it's just a giant brown box with a nice little impression of Destroyah on the front here. Looks awesome. Got his name in kanji here on the side. A P right down here. Came out in 2015. X Plus Garage Toys. Toho Co. Ltd. And then that's pretty much it for the packaging. Because for the back of it, you essentially just get some warning information and some legal mumbo jumbo. So let's just already technically got this guy out of his prison, so let's get into him. Alright, so now that we have Destroyah open up out of his cardboard prison, first there's gonna be some assembly required, which when you get him out of the packaging, you're gonna have to attach the tail yourself. You'll see right here on the back of Destroyah, there's a giant hole in his rear end. You have your tail here, which has the section that pegs right into there. What you're gonna need to do though is take your hair dryer and heat up this section here just to make it pretty easy to pop this bad boy in there. But what's also really cool is that he's actually got some foam inserts on the inside and a lot of hefty weight to him. And you also notice some here inside of the tail as well, which gives him a lot more weight, and it also feels very, very sturdy, so I'm not really too worried about breaking this guy. It's also nice because of the gigantic wings up here. He actually has a lot of weight at the base, so you don't have to worry about him tipping over or anything. But I will be right back after I go pop into this bad boy. Alright, so now we have Destroyah with his tail attached. Let's take a closer look at this guy's awesomeness. And for his details, starting with the head sculpt, turned out amazing. Which overall for the paint job of this guy is this very nice bright red, dark red, and charcoal color scheme, which you can see throughout the majority of the rest of his body here for the armor plating and the membranes. For his eye details, look awesome, where you have this very nice yellow color scheme here with this nice gloss over top of it, some more orange cracks on the inside of it. Give it this more insectile look. Teeth for this very nice white bone color scheme with more of a charcoal base for the beginning of the protrusions. Look awesome. Like, I just love the amount of gnarliness that's just portrayed from this guy's mouth region. Look at all them freaking teeth. Like, even has a decent amount of detail work here for the undersection of the mouth here. His tongue looks amazing. Upper portion of the roof of the mouth is very nice, more dark red mixed with some bright red color schemes. It looks amazing. Then for his horn section here, which is more of a more worn out bone color, which it kind of turns into more of a brown towards the base of the horn here. Looks awesome. Something that might have been cool is on the SH Monster Arts one, this one's actually made out of a more translucent plastic, but I like that they actually went with a solid here because this didn't really need a gimmick, because this just works more for me for being more screen accurate. Really like the crest here on the side of his head. It has a lot of very nice details, and the color scheme really does pop on this. But you can see some of the seam work here for the side of the crest here, a little bit here for the protrusions of the mouth, and then kind of right here for the base of the horn. It sticks out just a little bit. Also like that if you look at the back of his head, he has like 2 little devil horns coming out. That is freaking adorable. Then moving down to the base of his neck and his shoulder here, we start getting more of the armor plating here like you expect to see on Destroyah, which the detail work on here looks awesome, very crustacean in appearance. You can also see a little bit of the membrane work on the undersection of the armor here, which kind of gives the illusion of skin. And the plate work here for the front portion of the neck looks freaking fantastic. The giant horns here sticking out of his shoulders turned out really awesome, where they tip off into this very nice bright demonic red. And then you got some line work here that give off the illusion of cracks here for the inside of the horns. Looks freaking awesome. Even get a little bit more of horn protrusions here for the upper, lower portion, and the back portion of the shoulder. Same kind of detail work for the other side as well, where you get more of the cracks in the horns here for shoulder protrusions. And the detail work on shoulder is just amazing in general. Like, you get a lot of hardened edges here, would give it this more rock appearance here for the armor. More skin work here that's very reminiscent of a membrane with the very hardened lines. Details on the chest turned out really nice with this very dark peach color scheme here with more charcoal for the inner work of the details here. Looks really nice. Might have liked to see a little bit more of a brighter peach here though. Maybe to get this front section here to pop a little bit more. Because a lot of the other figures that I have, it's definitely more of a brighter shade. And the film, it always seemed a little bit brighter to me as well. But still works really well in this figure here. Arms look really nice as well, with more armor plating here for the over portion of the arms. Get some more skin work here for the intersections in between the armor plating and for the hands here. And then for the claws with this more white bone color scheme. Look freaking awesome. And then you'll notice for the right hand, it's actually more slightly enclosed. I guess you'll be seeing this as the left, but when you have them facing the other way, it's the right hand. This one's more slightly enclosed, and then his left hand is more in an open position. Detail work on the wings turned out really nice too, where you have this very nice bright red for the lower portion of the wing membrane, and then it darkens as it comes towards the base of the wings. And then the wings are in this more charcoal dark red color scheme. Same with the finger portions here. Then you get a little bit of more horn work here for the little pincer portions of the claws, I guess. And just so you guys the difference between the other wing, this other section of the wing kind of curves in just slightly more, and then it has a little bit of a fold here for the membrane portion of the wing. And then I guess another thing to point out too, as I show you guys the back section of the wings here, is that when I got this guy originally, which is something that if you guys do plan on picking up this figure, something that is also probably going to be a concern for you guys as well, is that the wings can pop off on this guy in shipping. So it's something definitely to watch out for when you guys are going to be ordering this. I know in some extreme cases too that the head has also come dislocated off the figure, but a lot of this stuff is easily glue back onable. Like for mine, this wing actually popped off because the way it's packaged and shipping, it actually puts a decent amount of pressure on the wings, so if anything kind of bumped into it, it just puts a lot of pressure right here on the wings, which is why it'll pop out generally right here for these little seam line section here. Just to show you guys what I'm talking about. Right here, you'll notice a little bit of paint missing here for this wing over here, which is the one I had to reconnect. It's something that isn't a major deal because unless you're looking at this super hardcore, you generally aren't going to notice this problem. But if you guys do plan on picking up Destroyah, it is going to be a concern though. And while we're back here, just show you guys the back portion of the plating for Destroyah here. Looks freaking awesome too. It's going to be said a lot in this video, which I really love the use of the bright red here to help accentuate the tips of the plating here, which really helps to make it stand out from the back portion of Destroyah. I'll show you guys the lower section of the wings here, very reminiscent of the upper portion, just on a smaller scale. But the detail work is still very nice, just like the upper portion of the wings where you have the bright red and dark red charcoal color scheme for the upper portion of the wing. This crotch and leg region turned out awesome too, where you have this very nice crustacean shell work here for the upper portion of the abdomen, which kind of shifts into his more groin region. Same with the upper portion of the armor plating here for the thigh region, which I don't know if it's just me, but does that look kind of like an alien egg? Just kind of like it exploded outward and protruded the rest of his legs here. Also really like here for the abdomen region here, we have these little horn protrusions also sticking out in the armor plating here, coming down towards the front portion of his groin. Like you even have the one symbolic one. Yay. Then to show you guys the rest of the upper portion of the thigh here for the details. Still awesome. And then for the lower portion of his legs, you get a lot of claw protrusions here in his knees, the side of his thighs, and then for his feet and the upper portion of his ankles. Which are just like the teeth, where it's more of a bone weight on the front and more of a charcoal color scheme for the base of protrusions. Which still, detail, like look at how insane this lower section looks. Like I just love how gnarly it is. Like you just don't want to mess with this Kaiju's legs. And then coming around to the side of the feet so you guys can see the back a little bit, where you see another claw protrusion on the back of the foot here. And then there's even some detail work here for the under section of the feet. Trying to hold this guy up because he's stupid heavy, just to show you guys. And then finally show you guys the detail work here for the tail, where you have a lot more of the armor plating here coming across the rest of the section of the tail. Looks really nice. I also like how it comes into this more curved pattern coming off to the side here, so it doesn't take up quite as much shelf space as this guy already does, because this guy's a pretty huge shelf hog as it is. And then for the details for the tip of the tail, which you get this nice pincer protrusion at the end of his tail, which you use to drag around Godzilla Jr. at the end of the film. Detail work on this thing's really nice as well, and it's this very nice bright red color scheme here, and then you have the membrane work on the inside portion of the pincers here. Even has some more details work for the undersection here. Looks awesome. Then I know I'm pointing out a few of the seam works here for the head here because those are slightly more noticeable than most of the rest of this kaiju. I guess the part where the seam line does show is where the tail connects into the body. It's slightly noticeable, but generally if it's just standing on a shelf, you're not going to be really able to see it. There's some more here for where the foot connected to the body. But other than that, not noticing too much else. Because even at the base of the neck, the seam line's actually hidden very nicely here. Because you can kind of notice it right there, but it's hidden by a lot of the armor plating, so it's not very noticeable either. So for some quick comparison, here we have the large monster series Destroyah compared next to the X Plus 25cm Burning Godzilla, which these guys were literally made for each other. And here he is compared next to Jessica's and I's last year Christmas presents for each other, which is the X Plus 1955 30cm Godzilla and Anguirus, which is the only other matching pair of X Pluses in our collection. And here is compared next to the Essie's Monsters Destroyah and Burning Godzilla, which this doesn't seem fair. And here is compared next to some American release figures of the American Bandai Creations Burning Godzilla and the NECA version. And here he is with some chibi Godzilla figures of Destroyah and Burning Godzilla. I feel like I should just leave these things on as finger puppets now. So for the X Plus Large Monster Series Destroyah, this figure is unbelievable. The detail work on here is some of the best in my collection, and the paint job is also phenomenal. And out of all my X Pluses, I would say he's number 2 right now to the 62, just because that figure is amazing. But compared to a lot of the other X Pluses I have, this thing just blows them away. And for the price tag, which this guy comes in at about a hefty $300-ish, plus you're gonna have to ship this bad boy, I actually say he's worth it. In terms of heft, he definitely rivals some of the larger NECA action figures in my collection, and in terms of detail, just blows those things out of the water, and those guys come in at around 150 for, say, knife head. And like I said, compared to a lot of the other X Pluses, this guy has a lot of heft to him, and seeing the comparison, this thing's freaking huge. So if you guys are really into X Pluses, love Godzilla vs. Destroyah, and want the Oxygen Destroyer himself in your collection, then look no further than the Large Monster Series Destroyah. But what do you guys think? Have you guys picked up the X Plus Destroyah? What's your favorite form of Destroyah? Or are you just not a fan of seafood? Please let us know in the comments. A little closer picture of this guy on Facebook if you want to click the link description below. Help us defeat those kaijus by hitting that like button. Subscribe to become a ranger today, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.